A spouse and sibling secretly plan to end life support early to steal inheritance money.
I remember the exact moment. Everything inside me stopped feeling normal. Not because of pain, not because of machines, but because of a sentence I was never supposed to hear. They should just pull the plug. He's basically gone already. That was my wife's voice. Calm, controlled, almost impatient. And then my brother replied just as casually, "Yeah, we've waited long enough. The money isn't going to move itself." Money, not grief, not fear. Money. My body was lying in a hospital bed, completely still, surrounded by machines that decided whether I was alive or not. But my mind was awake, fully awake, and listening to everything. My name is Ayan. I'm 34 years old, or I was before this happened, before the accident, before the hospital, before I became a case file instead of a person. Right now, I can't move my body. I can't open my eyes properly. I can't speak, but I can hear every single word being said around me. And what I've heard, I will never forget. It started with darkness, real darkness, the kind where you don't even know if you're alive or not. Then slowly, sound came back, machines beeping, footsteps, doors opening and closing, voices overlapping. At first, I thought I was dreaming, because nothing made sense. Doctors were talking around me like I wasn't a human anymore, like I was just something kept alive artificially. Brain activity is minimal, a doctor said once. Families should prepare for the worst. The worst. They were already talking about me in past tense, even while my heart was still beating. And then I heard her, my wife, Rita. She came into the room one afternoon. I could recognize her voice instantly, even when everything else felt blurred. But something was different. There was no emotion in her tone, no shaking, no hesitation, just business. "How long do we have to keep this going?" she asked. A pause. Then a doctor replied, "We need consent from family for withdrawal procedures." Withdrawal procedures. That sounded clinical. Clean, like they were unplugging a machine, not ending a life. "I've already signed what I needed to sign," she said. Then she added something quieter. "But I don't want this dragging on. It's exhausting." Exhausting. That word hit me harder than anything else. I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a burden. I tried to move. Anything. A finger. A toe. My eyelids. Nothing responded properly. But inside my head, I was screaming, "I'm here. I'm alive. Don't you hear me?" But no one did. Hours passed. Maybe days. Time stopped meaning anything. Then came the second voice. My brother. Same blood. Same childhood. Same house. Hamid. He walked in like he owned the room. Casual. Relaxed. Even a little annoyed. "They still haven't done it?" he asked. Right aside. "No. Doctors keep delaying." Hamid let out a short laugh. "That's ridiculous. He's not coming back. Not coming back. Like I was already gone. Like I was luggage left behind." Then he said something worse. Something that changed everything. "Look, the inheritance process gets complicated if he stays in this state too long." Inheritance. There it was. The real reason. My mind went blank for a second. Not because I didn't understand, but because I did. Too clearly. This wasn't sadness. This wasn't mercy. This was timing. Planning. Waiting. And I realized something slowly. This conversation wasn't new. They had been waiting for this moment. Maybe even hoping for it. Rida lowered her voice. "We just need one final confirmation from the doctor." Hamid nodded. And then, she didn't hesitate. "Then we proceed." Proceed. Like I was a transaction, not a person. Something inside me shifted after that. Fear turned into something sharper. Something colder. Awareness. I started paying attention to everything. Every sound. Every pause. Every hesitation in their voices. Because now I knew they weren't confused. They were coordinated. The next time the doctor came in, I heard them clearly. "His condition is stable, but there is no neurological improvement." No improvement. That phrase kept repeating, like a verdict. Ryder responded immediately. "So he's not conscious." The doctor hesitated. Based on current scans, no. That hesitation mattered. I caught it instantly. Because even doubt meant possibility. Hamid stepped closer to the bed. I could feel his presence. Not physically, but emotionally. He was looking at me like something already finished. You know, he said casually, he always thought he was smarter than everyone. A short laugh. But look at him now. I wanted to respond, to scream, to open my eyes, to prove him wrong. But my body didn't listen. Instead, I listened to them, carefully, because now I wasn't just a patient. I was a secret they didn't know I could hear. That night, the hospital became quieter. Lights dimmed, footsteps reduced. Only machines stayed constant. And then they came back. Rida and Hamid. Together. They thought no one else was around. Their voices changed instantly. No more acting. No more softness. Tomorrow morning, Hamid said. Rida replied instantly. Yes. A pause. Then Hamid added, "Well, tell them he passed naturally during the night. Naturally. Like it just happened, like they didn't do anything." Rida nodded. "It will be cleaner that way." Cleaner. That word again. Then she said something that froze everything inside me. "We just need to make sure there are no complications before signing." Complications. Meaning me waking up, me surviving, me speaking. Hamid leaned closer. "Do you think there's any chance?" "No," she interrupted immediately. "He's gone already. Already gone." But I was right there, listening, thinking, breathing. They stayed a few more minutes, discussing details, insurance timelines, paperwork, family notification timing. Not once did they mention my name like I was still a person, only like a process. After they left, silence returned. But something inside me didn't stay silent. Something changed. I stopped thinking like a victim and started thinking like a witness. If I could hear them, if I was aware that I wasn't gone, not yet, which meant one thing. I still had time, maybe not much, but enough to remember everything. Everything they said, everything they planned, everything they were about to do. Because tomorrow morning, they were going to end it, and I needed to survive long enough to stop it. Mourning in a hospital doesn't feel like mourning. There's no warmth, no real sunlight, no fresh start. Just the same cold machines, the same sterile smell, and people walking like every day is just another routine shift. But for me, that morning felt different, heavier, because I knew what was coming. They were going to end it today. That was no longer a guess. It was a schedule, a planned appointment with my death. I could hear them before I saw anything change in the room. Footsteps, faster than usual, purposeful. Rida was the first voice I recognized. "We need everything confirmed before noon," she said. No emotion, no hesitation, like she was arranging paperwork. Not a human life. Then Hamid followed. "They already said his brain activity is gone. What else do they need?" A pause. Then he added quietly, "Just do it. We've waited long enough." Waited long enough. As if I was an inconvenience they had been forced to tolerate. I tried to move again. My fingers, my hand, anything, nothing, except one thing, a flicker, barely noticeable, but real. It was becoming more frequent. Not strong enough yet, but enough to prove something important. I wasn't completely gone. The door opened again. Doctor entered, nurse behind him. Everyone's voices were more serious now, more final. "We will perform a final neurological assessment before withdrawal," the doctor said. Rida immediately responded, "Is that really necessary?" "Yes," the doctor replied calmly. "Protocol." Hamid sighed loudly. "Let's just get over with." Get it over with. Like I was a delayed task. The nurse stepped closer to my bed. I could feel her presence differently from the others. She didn't feel cold. She felt uncertain. She checked my eyes, shined light, took notes. Then she paused, longer than expected. "I think," she said slowly. Rida cut her off instantly. "You think what?" The nurse hesitated. "I think there may be reflex response." Silence hit the room instantly. Hamid laughed once. "That's normal. Reflexes don't mean anything." But the nurse didn't move away. She stayed close, watching. The doctor leaned in. Let's repeat the test. That's when everything inside me tightened, because I realized something. This was the moment, the final moment before they either stopped or ended it. The nurse touched my hand again, pressed slightly. Stimulus test. I focused harder than I ever had in my life. Every part of my mind on one thing. Move. Just move. Nothing. Then a twitch. Stronger than before. The nurse stepped back immediately. I saw that. Ryder's expression changed instantly. Not sadness. Not concern. Something sharper. Control slipping. That's impossible, she said quickly. The doctor didn't respond immediately. He was staring at my hand now. Focus. Repeat again, he said. This time more pressure. And again, movement. Clear. Undeniable. The room changed instantly. Like oxygen got replaced with tension. The nurse stepped back. I told you he's not fully unresponsive. Hamid's voice dropped. That doesn't make sense, Ryder turned sharply. This is inconsistent with prior scans. The doctor didn't argue. He just stared at the monitor, watching my brain activity spike slightly. Then he said something that changed everything. We need to postpone withdrawal. Postpone. That word hit harder than anything else, because it meant one thing. They weren't done yet. Ryder's voice rose instantly. No, that's not acceptable. The doctor turned to her. Ma'am, we cannot proceed if there is neurological response. Hamid stepped forward aggressively. He's been like this for days. Now suddenly he reacts. The nurse interrupted quietly. It's possible he's been conscious. That sentence broke the air in the room. Everything froze. Ryder turned slowly. What did you say? The nurse didn't back down this time. I said it's possible he's aware. For the first time, I felt something shift in Ryder. Not confidence. Not control. Fear. Hamid laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. He hasn't moved properly in weeks. But no one agreed anymore. Not even the doctor. He looked uncertain now, like something he believed wasn't fully true anymore. Let's run full diagnostics again, he said quietly. That sentence bought me time. Time I didn't have before. But Ryder didn't like it. I could hear it in her voice. We are delaying everything for uncertainty? Yes, the doctor replied. Silence. Hamid stepped closer to the bed again. I could feel his frustration, like the situation was slipping out of his control. This is insane, he muttered. But then something worse happened. The nurse leaned closer to me again, whispering, low enough that only I could hear. If you can hear me, try again. My entire focus locked onto that moment, because she wasn't just doing her job anymore. She believed it. I tried again. Harder. Deeper. Everything I had left. Finger. Movement. Stronger this time. Clear enough that even I could feel it fully. The nurse stepped back instantly. I knew it. That was it. The breaking point. Ryder's face went still. Not calm. Not controlled. Just frozen. Hamid stepped back slightly. For the first time, uncertainty. The doctor immediately raised his hand. Stop all withdrawal procedures. That sentence changed everything. Everything that was planned stopped. Everything they were ready to end paused. And I stayed there, alive, still trapped, but no longer invisible. Ryder's voice broke through the silence. This is not possible. But it was, and she knew it now, even if she didn't want to accept it. Hamid looked at me differently now, not as something finished, but as something dangerous. Because now I wasn't just a patient anymore. I was evidence. The doctor turned to the nurse. Prepare full neurological reassessment and monitoring extension. Ryder stepped back slowly, like she needed distance from reality. Hamid didn't speak anymore. Not once. The room that was supposed to end me had changed direction completely. And for the first time since the accident, I felt something stronger than helplessness. I felt delay. Because now they couldn't kill me quietly. They couldn't sign papers and move on. They couldn't pretend I was gone. I was still here. And they knew it. The nurse adjusted the machine again and whispered something only I could hear. You're not alone in this anymore. And in that moment, I realized something even bigger. If I could survive this day, then I could survive long enough to expose everything. Everything they tried to hide. Everything they planned. Everything they thought would disappear with me. But now, it was just beginning. The room didn't go back to normal after that moment. It never does when something that was supposed to be final suddenly isn't. There's a different kind of silence in hospitals after that. Not calm, not peaceful, just confused. Like reality itself has paused to figure out what just happened. They had planned to end my life that morning. And instead, they were forced to keep me alive. Not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't ignore what they just saw. I moved. I reacted. I wasn't gone. And now, I was a problem they couldn't quietly erase. Ryder wasn't speaking anymore, but I could feel her presence in the room. Heavy, unstable, like someone trying to hold together a plan that was falling apart in real time. Hamid, on the other hand, couldn't hide it. He kept shifting his weight, looking between the doctor and the monitors, avoiding my bed, like eye contact itself had become dangerous. The doctor was the only one still acting professional, but even he wasn't fully confident anymore. I could hear it in his voice. Measured, but uncertain. "We will continue observation under full neurological monitoring," he said. A pause. Withdrawal procedure suspended until further notice. Suspended. Not canceled. Not over. Just delayed. That word mattered. Because it meant they were still thinking about it. Still holding on to the idea that I could be erased. Ryder finally spoke. Her voice was low, controlled, but tight. "This is going to complicate everything. Not he's alive. Not, thank God. Not even shock. Just complications." That was when I truly understood her. Not as my wife, but as a person I never really knew. Hamid stepped closer to her. "We need to talk outside." They left the room together, not looking at me, not acknowledging me, like I was still just a situation on hold. But I wasn't on hold anymore. Something had changed inside me too. I could feel my fingers more clearly now, not just flickers. Actual response. Weak, but real. And I started doing something I hadn't been able to do before. I started remembering everything in sequence, not fragments, not flashes, full structure. The accident, the hospital admission, the conversations, the timing, the urgency in their voices. And slowly a pattern formed. This wasn't just impatience. This was coordination. They didn't just want me gone. They needed me gone by a specific time. For a reason. Insurance? Inheritance? Something else? I didn't know yet, but I knew this much. They were not reacting to my condition. They were reacting to a deadline. The nurse came back into the room while I was still processing that. She didn't look at the others, only at me. And for the first time, she didn't look like she was just doing her job. She looked like she was choosing something. "You're improving," she said quietly. Not a question, a statement. I tried to respond. Even the smallest movement, my finger, it twitched. She saw it immediately and nodded slightly, like confirmation. Then she whispered something that changed everything again. "They shouldn't be here this much." I didn't understand at first, but then I realized what she meant. Ryder and Hamid, they weren't supposed to be involved in medical decision-making this closely, not at this level, not controlling timing, not pushing withdrawal. The nurse stepped closer. "I've seen cases like this," she said softly. "Not this exact one, but close." She paused, looked toward the door, then back at me. "And people lie when money's involved." That word again. Money. Now it wasn't just my suspicion. It was being said out loud by someone inside the system. Before I could process that further, the door opened again. Ryder and Hamid returned, but something had changed in them. They weren't calm anymore. They were careful, too careful. Ryder spoke first. "We need clarity on his condition." The doctor nodded. "We're conducting continuous monitoring." Hamid crossed his arms. "How long?" The doctor hesitated. "That depends on neurological response." That answer clearly frustrated him. Ryder stepped closer to my bed again. But this time, she didn't look emotional. She looked calculating, watching, assessing, not like a wife, like someone recalculating risk. And I realized something terrifying in that moment. They were no longer treating me like someone who might die. They were treating me like someone who might wake up fully. That changed everything, because death is simple. Awareness is not. Hamid leaned closer to Rida. "We need to be careful now," he muttered. She didn't respond immediately. Then quietly, "Yes." That yes was an agreement. It was adjustment. The doctor interrupted their silence. "We'll need to speak about medical decision authority moving forward." That hit them both. Hard, because now they weren't in control anymore. The system was. Rida forced a smile. "Of course." But I could see it cracking underneath. Hamid didn't even try to hide his frustration anymore. He just nodded and stepped back. But the moment they thought no one was watching, I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. Rida whispered to him, "This cannot drag out. We already prepared everything." Hamid replied, "Then we need another way." Another way. That line stayed in my head longer than anything else that day, because it confirmed something I was already afraid of. Stopping the procedure didn't mean stopping the plan. It just meant changing it. After a while, the room cleared again. Doctors left. Hamid left. Rida stayed for a few seconds longer. And for the first time, she looked directly at me without pretending. Not love, not concern, just silence. Then she leaned slightly forward and said something only I could hear. "You should have stayed like this." Then she left. The door closed, and I was alone again. But I wasn't the same anymore, because now I knew something even more important than before. They weren't afraid of me dying. They were afraid of me waking up. And that meant one thing. If I fully woke up, everything they built would collapse. I just had to get there, step by step, movement by movement. I focused again on my hand. This time, slower, controlled, intentional. Finger moved, not by accident, not by reflex. I did it, and for the first time since the accident, I felt something return. Control, not over them, not over the situation, but over myself. And that was enough. For now, because they had already tried to end me once, and failed. Now they would have to live with the fact that I heard everything. Even when they thought I was already gone, they thought the hardest part was over. For them, the worst case scenario had already happened the moment the doctor said I wasn't brain dead. But they were wrong. The worst part wasn't that I survived. It was that I remembered everything. The hospital felt different now. Not louder, not busier, just tense. Like the entire building had started reacting to something nobody wanted to name out loud. I was still in the bed, still weak, still dependent on machines. But something inside me had shifted completely. I wasn't just listening anymore. I was building something in my mind. A timeline, a pattern, a truth, and every piece of it pointed in the same direction. Rida, Hamid, money, timing. Too much coordination to be coincidence. Days passed slowly after withdrawal attempt was stopped. Doctors ran tests repeatedly. Nurses checked signals constantly. But I wasn't their mystery anymore. I was becoming their concern. Because now I was responding. Not fully, but enough. A finger movement here. An eye twitch there. Small confirmations that destroyed the certainty they had before. And that uncertainty changed everything. Rida stopped coming as often. At first it was subtle. Shorter visits, shorter conversations, less eye contact. Then it became avoidance. Hamid, on the other hand, started acting differently, not calmer, more controlled, like someone adjusting their behavior after realizing they were being watched. But I was watching too, always listening, always remembering. One evening, I overheard something that confirmed everything I suspected. Hamid speaking outside the room, voice low. "Careful. We need to reconsider timing. This is getting risky." Pause. Then Rida's voice. It was supposed to be clean. Clean. That word again. Like erasing a mistake. Not ending a life. Hamid replied, "It's not clean anymore if he fully wakes up." Silence. Then Rida. "Then we make sure he doesn't." That sentence didn't scare me the way it would have before. Because now, I expected it. What scared me more was how normal they sounded saying it. Like adjusting a schedule. Like changing a plan. Not destroying a person. That was when I understood something deeper. This wasn't panic. This was damage control. They weren't debating morality. They were managing risk. And I was a risk. The nurse entered later that night. She didn't speak immediately. Just checked the monitors. Adjusted something quietly. Then she looked at me. Longer than usual. "You're improving faster than expected," she said softly. I blinked slowly. That was my only response I could manage. She nodded like she understood. Then she did something unexpected. She placed a small piece of paper near my hand. I couldn't move enough to pick it up, but I could see it. One word written on it. "Watch." Before I could process it, she left. That word stayed in my mind for hours. Watch. Not help. Not escape. Watch. Meaning she knew something too, or suspected something. The next morning, everything changed again. A meeting was called. Family only. Doctors allowed in. No nurses except one observer. Ryder insisted I be present in the room. Still in bed. Still attached to machines. "I need him here for legal clarity," she said. Legal clarity. Not emotional clarity. Not recovery support. Legal. That word told me everything. The room filled slowly. Relatives I barely saw. Doctors with serious expressions. Hamid sitting stiffly. Ryder sitting perfectly composed. And me, silent, watching. The doctor spoke first. "Patient shows partial neurological recovery. Prognosis is uncertain, but improving." That sentence changed the room. Whispers started immediately. Confusion, shock, relief from some, concern from others. But Ryder didn't react, not even slightly. Then the lawyer stepped forward. That's when I understood why this meeting really existed. "This is regarding estate and medical authority moving forward," he said. Estate. There it was. Again. Hamid leaned forward immediately. "What does that mean exactly?" The lawyer answered carefully. "It means current inheritance claims are on hold until mental capacity is fully assessed." Silence. Heavy silence. Ryder's face didn't change. But I saw it. A flicker. Loss of control. Hamid spoke faster now. "So everything is frozen?" "Yes." That one word destroyed their timeline. Because now they couldn't move forward. Not legally. Not medically. Not quietly. Ryder finally spoke. "And if he doesn't regain full capacity?" The lawyer replied, "Then the court decides." Court. Public process. Outside control. Not theirs. That was the real turning point. Because everything they had built depended on timing. And timing just broke. Hamid stood up slightly. "This is unnecessary complication." The lawyer didn't respond emotionally. Just factually. It's protocol. Ryder's hands tightened slightly on the chair. I noticed it. For the first time, she wasn't calm anymore. The meeting continued. But I stopped focusing on words. Because I was focusing on something else. Her reaction. Hamid's frustration. The lawyer's authority. Everything was slipping away from them. And they knew it. After the meeting, the room cleared quickly. But Ryder stayed behind. Hamid too. They didn't speak immediately. Just looked at me. Like I had become something different from what they expected. Then Hamid whispered, "This is getting out of control." Ryder didn't answer at first. Then quietly, "No, it's already out of control." That was the first time I heard real uncertainty in her voice. Not fear of consequences, fear of exposure. Because now I wasn't just surviving. I was evidence. Later that night, the nurse returned again. This time, she didn't bring paper. She brought words. Quiet ones. "They were here too often before," she said. I didn't understand why. She paused, then looked at me directly. "But now I think I do." I couldn't respond. But I didn't need to. She already knew I understood. Then she added something that stayed with me forever. People don't rush death like that unless there's something in it for them. Silence. Then she left again. And I stayed there thinking. Not about pain. Not about recovery. But about truth. Because now I had enough pieces. Accident that didn't feel accidental. Urgency around timing. Inheritance discussions before death. Attempts to end life support too early. Legal pressure afterward. It wasn't random. It wasn't confusion. It was structure. And structures can collapse. I just had to survive long enough to pull the first piece out. The next morning, I managed something I hadn't been able to do before. My hand moved intentionally, not reflex, control. The nurse saw it, and this time she didn't look surprised. She looked ready. Ryder noticed too, from across the room. Her eyes locked onto mine for the first time without emotion filtering it. And in that moment, I saw it clearly. She wasn't looking at a dying husband anymore. She was looking at a problem that had learned how to speak back. And she finally understood something she should have understood much earlier. I was never gone. I was just listening, waiting, remembering. And now, I was awake enough to fight back.